Everyone, how's everyone doing? Strong, still strong, holding strong. I realize I opened in this stage this morning and there's a lot of good energy, and so I'm hoping we keep it up through the night. Great to see everyone here. It's my great pleasure to moderate our next panel, which has to do with venture capital and investments. And we're joined by three esteemed panelists. We have Nico Bonachos right there. We have Alexandros right here, and we have Haris, and they're going to tell you all about it. Why don't we do the intros first, starting with Nico, and then we go down the line. We keep it short. Nico, go ahead.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for the kind invite to this awesome conference. I'm sorry I can't be with you all. I'm in San Francisco. I'm Nico. I work with an awesome firm called Journal Catalyst Partners. We're in the business of partnering with ridiculously ambitious founders who, over time, hopefully build the category-defining company in their space.
Beautiful. What a great model of a short intro. Alex.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. So I started my career as an electrical engineer. I started in Greece. I went to Columbia University to do my PhD in video compression and communication. I stayed there as a professor. And then I started a company called Video, which was a pioneer in the video conferencing systems space. Eventually, the company was sold to a Canadian one called House. And I found myself splitting my time between Athens and New York. And I entered the venture capital space. I'm a partner at Big Pie Ventures, which is an early-stage deep tech fund investing in companies that have Greek presence. We are now in our second fund. In fact, Haris here is running the organization that's also an investor in our fund. So we're all about deep tech.
Okay. And Hari?
Hello, everybody. Hi, Nikos. I am Haris Lambropoulos. I'm the president of the Hellenic Development Bank of Investments, which is not a bank. It's the sovereign fund of funds, actually. And what I like to say, humoristically, is that we are on the dark side of the moon, and our fund managers, where we act as sovereign anchor LPs or major LPs, are on the bright side. So we take strength and energy from the fund management ecosystem that we have in Greece. We are very proud to say that during the past 4 years, together with Antigone, we managed to have a portfolio of 23 VC and PE funds today, from literally none, almost 4 years ago, managing over 1.3 billion euro to invest in various asset classes. So, yeah, we take strength of that. We are very happy. I will say later on about our international and European partnerships and how we can support these exciting new challenges, technological issues. So 2.1 billion under management, plenty of resources still to be deployed and invested. So here we are. Full of ears.
Here we are, and we'll hear more about the HDBI program and success in Greece, and specifically as it relates to GenAI. But let me start with Nico, with you. I mean, I've been a VC myself for a while, so I've seen a few of these hype cycles, and we're certainly been in the hype cycle ever since ChatGPT hit the news a little over a year ago. That even my mom started asking questions about it. We've certainly been in a hype cycle. So, and I know that you're getting bombarded with business plans about, every company that's trying to tack AI or generative AI on their business plan every day. Do you have any favorite shorthand tricks or ways of evaluating all these companies in terms of, do they really have something differentiated, or are they just riding the hype wave?
Yeah, of course, you've been a VC, you've seen it yourself over the last, 20 plus years now. This is a hype cycle. There's, of course, a lot of real value too. Like, you've had billions of people now try all these technologies, pay money. You've seen these larger tech companies capture a lot of the value and post many tens of billions in revenue of AI related stuff. In terms of like our firm, GC, and venture capitalists more broadly evaluating startups and founders, at the very early stages, it's all about the people. Do they have a customer in mind from day one? Do they have the right team that can help build the product in order to serve that customer? If it's a team that needs to build a lot of these fundamental technologies, do they have the competence to actually do it because they can show a track record from the past that they did it before? Do they have a data advantage? A lot of the companies in Gen AI, if they don't have a data advantage and they just use data from the internet, then anyone else, can copy them. Are they amazing storytellers? Because some of these indeed require a lot of capital to be raised. Does the product work? A lot of the demos are more of the same. They just use open source software or other people's technologies, and it either, no tech mode or the product, really doesn't work. They have revenue that seems to be working. They have gross margins that are in a good spot. It always goes back to the same fundamentals: people, product, tech, and they see market pull.
Alex, picking up from that, I mean, Big Pie, as you said, you guys focus on companies that have a scientific or a deep tech edge. How does that translate into the world of Gen AI? How do you sort of judge the scientific depth of quality of companies in this space?
Yeah, look, this is all about innovation, right? And I think in many ways, Gen AI questions or asks us to reassess what we truly mean by innovation. I mean, these models are trained on data, which is massive, essentially on everything that we have created, let's say, online, right? So it's a representation of what the majority says. And there's a nice quote by a French author, André Gide, that he said, he won the Nobel Prize in '47. He said that everything that needs to be said has been said, but because nobody was listening, it must be said again. So in some sense, with tools like ChatGPT, you can have your own personal lens to look at all this data and harness it and get an answer for yourself. And as we have been trained to do that ourselves in school, right, do research, write an essay, write a summary, we are amazed by the fact that this can now be automated. And then when you transition this to multimodal, like I write text and I get an image, or I write text and I get a video, to us that's astonishing because we trained ourselves for many years to be able to do that, to produce these images, okay? So that's mind-boggling. And I think in many ways, in the same way that we engineered mundane labor out of the system, now we're engineering away the mundane intellectual labor, okay? So I think there will be a lot of companies, right, which will capitalize on that, right, and will deliver solutions that, for better or for worse, will eliminate a lot of these things that can be created, okay? Now, thankfully, again, this is all about innovation. So as a deep tech fund, we look on sort of narrow spaces where domain expertise is key, okay? So I think that does not change at all with these tools that essentially play for large average, for lack of a better word, okay? So I think in this particular space, the future is and will remain extremely exciting. But I think everybody should incorporate the Gen AI into their system, either as a tool to build the product or as a feature of their product.
Thank you. Harry, I actually want to ask you in a different order from the questions that I sent to you, because I think while we're on the subject of Gen AI activity, and we talked about evaluating companies in terms of the people and all the sort of fundamentals that Nico talked about, and then Alex talked about some of the aspects of scientific and kind of deep tech and sort of breakthrough technologies that you can see. But actually, I'd be interested for you as a fund investor, right? Do you see a lot of Gen AI themed funds or investment proposals that come through your desk? And if so, what are some of the interesting trends that you may be picking up in terms of who's coming to you asking for money that has to do with Gen AI?
Okay. To be honest with you, Andrea, we do not see an ample variety of fund managers to come to propose to us about Gen AI or AI in general strategies. Of course, we all know that innovation and technology has to be at all fronts of the investment strategy of the fund managers, despite the fact whether they are in the tech front or in the traditional economy front. However, since the fact we are not a demand, we are not a supply-driven organization, we are demand-driven, what we say, and this is an open call, like the open calls that we have to attract fund management teams to the audience today, is that we are full of ears, we listen to the market needs, we have very flexible programs, we have designed very flexible mandates with the public money that we manage. And from our part, we can accommodate new trends and competent teams that they have the technical capacity, the financial ability, and the investment, let's say, competency to propose to us to create a new fund. Of course, it is well known that it's not only the concept, but it is the ability to attract private investment to finalize the completion of the fund. Mind you, although I cannot disclose because this is on the evaluation phase, we have a team at the moment that we're speaking right now that they are AI focused, and also because we have recently read in the press that 11% of the AI professionals, let's say, around the world are Greek or of Greek origin. This is not a Portokalos kind of statement, but yeah, but that was written in I don't remember in which, in a very serious media site. This is a huge kind of opportunity for Greeks to repatriate, attract talent, or give back to their country from the places that they work.
Makes sense. I read the same thing. We're actually using it on the National AI Committee about the fact that when it comes to the diaspora, you actually have a lot of the papers, a lot of the academics, and a lot of the practitioners that are Greeks in AI. So there should be an opportunity, shouldn't there? Nico, coming back to you. Switching a little bit from sort of VC strategy to startup strategy and advice, right? Because this is not just about ventures, it's also about startups. So look, these large foundation models, they take billions to train, right? They take billions to train, they take billions to maintain. I mean, this is the purview of really large companies so far when we're talking about real breakthrough, large foundation models. So what does that mean in terms of advice you're giving or the kinds of companies when they're still young? Is the only strategy to try to be one of the few companies that manages to raise billions of dollars? Or are there ways to play in this world that are more capital efficient? And if so, what kind of advice or guidance do you give to your company?
Yeah, we live in a very interesting time because you see all the large tech companies be very agile right now and almost behave like startups. A lot of the innovation is coming out of them. And frankly, a lot of the value so far and in the next few years will be captured by the very large tech public companies. And this is a challenge for the VC industry and startups, which is unlike, what historically had happened in previous cycles. Now, if you think about the Gen AI universe, you have, of course, people, and then you have the data, you have the compute, and then you have the architecture. And in this, first phase that we've entered over the last year, the companies that have access to a lot of compute and a lot of data, which normally is the larger, companies, have an advantage. But we also think that the architecture, as the time goes by, will become a lot more important. And some of these algorithms are going to become a lot more efficient. They won't require as much data. They won't require as much compute. And this is where the opportunity might lie, for some of the startups. So in particular at GC, we're very focused on identifying founders or prospective founders that often work for some of these large tech companies or the startups that raised a lot of money to build the foundation models, who are the next generation builders. And have seen what it takes to create products now that could capture a lot of value from the future customers. So one way, to go at it today is to go after areas of the internet or areas of specific sectors where there is not a lot of competition. So for example, at GC, we're also spending a lot of time in regulated sectors where a lot of the data is behind, the firewall, and you have the opportunity, if you work with the defense industry, the healthcare industry, or the insurance industry, not to have to compete, with all these massive and very capable companies, but there are a few customers that if you can speak the language, earn their trust, and often, apply some open source models to be able to have a product that's a lot more superior than the vertical SaaS incumbent. So that's, I think, we advise founders who are getting started in this space. So I see a lot of, ways to play it. You got to have the kind of people who have a customer in mind from the very, very, early moment, and be willing to do whatever it takes to serve them.
Alex, a similar question to you, right? Because you guys see, GC funds companies across the spectrum, and they're very large fund, and they can write big checks. But, we're in Greece here, and usually the kind of checks you guys write are earlier stage. You're
That's
getting
right.
in early, right? So product market fit, early product building phase. You judge a lot of the scientific merits of the founders, maybe before they even have the final prototype done. So is there different advice that you're giving them in the days of GenAI?
I think, again, you have to look at this as an enabler. In other words, look at this phone, right? It's a very complicated thing to produce this phone. So it will be very difficult for me to propose, let's create another one, or let's innovate in this space. It's very difficult. However, this phone has enabled a whole sort of industry, let's say, of apps, right? So similar with GenAI, if you look at the way, let's say, a programmer works, right? It used to be that you would use a set of libraries, right? You would study them, you would use them in your own code, and that became an asset. That was a skill. You would put that on your resume, right? That I know, XYZ in that language. Nowadays, you can actually instruct, right, a GenAI tool to produce code according to whatever architecture you want, right, in the language that you want. So now you're completely free to produce software in that way. So I think that's definitely transformative. In fact, I think the CEO of NVIDIA just a few days ago said that, we should no longer encourage people to become programmers like we used to 15 years ago, right? 15 years ago, everybody should become a programmer. It's the job of the future, etc. Now he says, forget about that. We are all programmers. Why? Because I can use sort of, human language to create programmatic structures. And then what matters is the specialized knowledge. So taking it back for companies, I think the first question is, if what you're building can already be done by sort of a ChatGPT solution, question number one, and I've seen that. I've seen decks where, it was killed because, well, wait a second, if I go do this, it's done. And then I think what people should do is, A, look how they can use the technology as a tool to accelerate the product delivery, so it's an internal tool as a copilot, right? And the second, how they can integrate the capability and make it available to their customers, in other words, as a product feature. I think these two are key elements. And we have companies in our portfolio, like Intelligentsia, for example, which is a company that does assessment of clinical trials, right? It's all software, right? And it will tell the pharma companies that are planning to spend $100 million on a drug, okay, what is the probability of success? So